Captain Cozy stood silently on the bridge of the UNSS Hastur, the tension in the room as thick as the utility lights, pressing down on the captain and his crew. The Venus 1 terraforming platform was nearly down, its descent rockets slowing its approach to the upper cloud layer. The colonies of Venus had voted, the majority wanting the planet to be transformed, but there will be resistance. The Kraken did not agree to the terraforming, nor did the Venusian half, but many more did. So the UNS sent warships, not to fight, just to monitor the setup and operation of the platforms. The UNSS Hastur, being one of many ships around Venus, had the dubious honour of monitoring the platform to go first. Designed to float among the clouds, stripping away the smoke and acid until the atmosphere was much more like that of the Earth, a process that was expected to take 16 decades. Cozy stepped closer to the holography as Venus 1 settled into the clouds, its engines cutting out, the buoyant nature of the platform holding it aloft in the sea of Venus's sky. With a thought, Cozy changed the zoom and configuration of the images, his eyes scanning the thermals of the clouds. There were a half-dozen great swirls of heat closing on the platform, as large as cruisers, some 250 meters abeam each. The radio chatter from the platform spoke of preparations as its crew began to start the complex chemical engines within the structure.
"Ready weapons. Contact Venus 1. Warn them of an impending attack," yelled Cozy, his voice trailing to a growl as he started painting targets, the crew calling back confirmations as they readied the ship. The swirls of heat reacted to the change in the Hastur. 4 of the signatures shattered, becoming thousands of smaller targets, each accelerating toward the platform. The remaining 2 changed course, heading for the cloud surface. Until they attack, the Hastur can only remain ready. The UNS and the Kraken are not at war. Not yet. The final confirmations came from his crew. Every weapon was armed and aimed, the Hastur bristling. But he would have to wait for the Kraken to start the war.
"Main engines ready," called Callie. Dr. Nuniko nodded at her, readying himself for the possibility of attack. The Kraken were out there, ready, he was sure of it. Even with the Hastur in orbit above, the Kraken had warned against the terraforming of Venus. Even his own brother was a proud Venusian, a member of the Half. But a new Earth? That's too big a prize to give up on.
"Let's get this party started then. Activate atmospheric converters."
The staff of Venus 1 leapt to action, systems coming online and updates hanging in the air, soon filling the ceiling space with shimmering holograms of system readouts. Forgetting the Kraken for a moment, Dr. Nuniko smiled. This would be the first terraforming attempt in Sol for more than 7 centuries, since the completion of Martian terraforming. Everything went perfectly. The atmosphere processors, the chemical engines, even the analysis systems were working exactly as expected. Everything running as it was intended for a full 117 seconds. The Hastur's sensors were focused on the platform and the Kraken, watching the systems come to life. Reports from Dr. Nuniko coming in, indicating that everything was working. The transformation of Venus had begun. Sudden spikes of smoke burst from the clouds. Their streak shape could mean only one thing. The Kraken had fired, not upon the platform, but on the Hastur in orbit. They were the trails of railgun rounds. Cozy recognized them immediately and yelled for evasive action, grabbing the rails of the command console as he did. The 2 large Kraken masses were firing, 4 railguns each, 200-meter barrels, 1,000,000 km/h rounds. The numbers ran through his head. The Hastur was a big lady. She could never get out of the way in time. All they could hope to do was prevent them from hitting critical systems.
"Return fire!"
he yelled as the Hastur began to accelerate away from the path of the rounds. He could see the swarms of smaller Kraken flowing onto Venus 1, breaching the outer support ring. He could hear the reports from the UNNS, Vigilant, Laputia, Argoses, and Faraday, all coming under attack.
"So it's war then,"
he muttered as the rounds hit, 2 puncturing the hull, 6 more damaging weapon turrets, sensor pylons, and maneuvering engines. The terrible sound of impacts and buckling metal filling the ship, followed by the sound of the Hastur's guns firing back and her missiles loosed, burning toward Venus. Venus 1 was compromised, warnings and damage reports replacing the soft blue of station operations with a deep red. Dr. Nuniko called for defense forces to respond and engage the security doors, sealing off the command center from the rest of the station. Despite the doors, he and the staff could hear the fighting, the yelling all over the sound of the alarms. The radios of the defense forces were not encouraging. Squads were being overwhelmed as more than 1,000 Kraken boarded Venus 1, far outnumbering the 200 UNS Marines aboard. Worse still, there were as many more on the hull, ripping comm antenna and escape craft from the platform, ensuring that nobody could evacuate or call for help. Not that it made much difference. The Hastur would have seen the events. The UNS would know that fighting had broken out. On the sensors, he could see the Hastur. It was under fire and firing back, gaining altitude and heading for high orbit. The station began to rock as if a great wave was crashing into it. Sensors switched focus, showing the clouds breaking to the east and west. Great grey and black tentacles were emerging. The 2 massive Kraken were headed after the Hastur. Their 4 longest tentacles, each containing railguns, fired again. As their bodies rose beyond the clouds, their drive plumes became visible, brilliant white flame pouring out from the root of their tentacles. They were accelerating quickly, but Nuniko didn't get all that long to stare at them. The sounds of tearing metal coming from a security door. The Kraken had reached the control room. "Secure all systems! Shut the station down!" he yelled as he began wiping the system. The staff were panicked, but they obeyed, shutting down everything but atmospherics and locking the main computers. Moments after they finished, 2 of the security doors were breached, rough-hewn tentacles of rusted, twisted metal tearing the doors down, before the bulky bodies of a dozen monsters reared into the room, grabbing Nuniko and the staff, dragging them from their consoles. The UNSS Valhalla sat silently in high orbit, more than 5 million kilometers above Venus. General Wuzzles grimly watching the reports coming in. All 88 terraforming platforms were under attack. Every UNS ship in the field was taking fire. It was exactly as he expected. His flat back ears and wildly swishing tail showed his anger. "Send them in," he purred. "Yes, General. Yes, General. Yes, General," chimed a dozen voices, soon issuing orders to others. The surface of the Valhalla was covered in diamond-shaped scales, each a Valkyrie fighter, 10,000 of them, all dropping away from the carrier, burning engines toward the battle, freeing up the Valhalla's weapons. With a nod from the general, the cannoneers began